In a world full of darkness, only light can make a change, and everyone, and I mean everyone, orcs, elves, and humans alike, await that light. Bright. Samurai Soul is a Netflix 2021 original anime which is a spin-off of the Hollywood movie Bright. A battle between the Shogun Yoshinobu Tokugawa and the new government army is raging at Edo Castle in the year 1868, and Izou is one of the soldiers protecting the shogunate. Amidst the bloody clash, a bright light illuminates the night, catching everyone's attention. After a few years, when the old regime has been replaced by the Meiji Restoration, Izou is no longer a soldier but a guard at a Kyoto brothel. His boss asks him to lock up a wild elf girl they're trying to sell. Before he leaves her, she sees a light blue aura coming from him, arousing her curiosity. Izou then goes to a high courtesan named Chihaya to deliver some things such as an English vocabulary book she requested. She notices some scratches on his hand and asks where he got it. He tells her about the rowdy elf girl he was asked to lock up. They visit the said girl's cell, and Chihaya requests Izou to give the elf girl to her to become her personal attendant. Back in Chihaya's room, the elf girl eats the food the former had prepared for her. As they talk, the high courtesan learns that the girl's name is Sonia, and even comments that it sounds Russian, saying maybe her family comes from the north, just like her bird. She also tells the girl the reason why she's called Chihaya the Forgetful. It's because she can't remember anything since the Meiji Restoration began. She adds that back then, she didn't own anything except for the pin she's wearing. She removes it from her hair, revealing her elf ears, surprising Sonia. Chihaya takes out a huge map and shows it to Sonia, telling her that somewhere beyond the seas in the north, there's a land inhabited by elves, and it's called Hakodate. It seems she wants to find it, for there, she hears, elves are free. She gives Sonia hope that the land may be real. Suddenly, an army of orcs, dwarves, and goblins invaded the brothel and slay everyone they see there, whether servants or patrons. Izou rushes into his room to get his katana, and without hesitation, he goes out to kill the intruders. Near the entrance of the brothel, the invaders' leader tells an orc named Ryuden that he will grant him his freedom once he's fulfilled his mission of finding the elf they are after. The orc reluctantly starts searching for the girl, not knowing that at that time, Chihaya hides Sonia in her closet to protect her from danger. Then the man who wants to buy Sonia goes into the high courtesan's room to encourage her to escape with him, showing her a secret passage where they can go. Meanwhile, Izou thinks about Chihaya as he kills the invaders, but before he can go to her, Ryuden attacks him and they fight fiercely. In the midst of their battle, a rain of flaming arrows hit the brothel. The high courtesan leaves the man she's with to help Sonia. The man suffocates because of the smoke from the burning brothel and falls down. Chihaya finds Sonia unconscious and wakes her up. All of a sudden, the leader of the invaders sees them, unaware that the elf girl sees a dark aura emanating from him. Sonia bites the hand of the leader, but he easily tosses her aside, revealing her elf ears in the process. He orders his men to capture the girl, but Chihaya gets in the way, only to be knocked down. She picks up her pin which fell on the floor, and upon doing so, she recalls her past, and uses her pin to cast a spell that cut off the leader's hand. Furious with what happened to his hand, the leader stabs Chihaya in the heart. She tells Sonia her dying wish of returning her pin to Hakodate. After that, she casts a spell that brightens the sky with strange light, just like what happened a few years back. Izou's fight with Ryuden comes to a halt after they see the strange familiar light. Obeying his superior's orders, Ryuden rushes to Chihaya's room. He sees her and Sonia surrounded by a magic circle of light, which disappears when Sonia loses consciousness. Izou arrives and attacks the orc. Before checking Sonia and Chihaya, he threatens the orc not to come any closer. To his surprise, instead of attacking him, Ryuden saves them from a flaming debris about to fall on them. The orc suggests that they get out of there, and so the two fighters escape with the girls. The next day, Ryuden can be seen tied to a tree near the forest. Izou, on the other hand, makes a stone grave for Chihaya. He tells Sonia that this is the way to send the high courtesan to heaven, but the elf girl claims that Chihaya would rather go to Hakodate, the land of elves. She then shows him the pin given to her which must be returned to that land. Sonia tries to hire Izou to help her get to Hakodate, but Ryuden is the one who volunteers to do the job, because according to him, his former boss will not rest until he captures the elf girl. To prove that he's turned over a new leaf, Ryuden frees himself from being bound to the tree and breaks one of his fangs. Sonia asks him if he knows the way to Hakovate, to which he replies positively. Seeing a white aura surrounding the orc, the elf girl believes him and hires him. A bird called Darion, Redstart, flies by and the orc takes it as a good sign. After that, he also rubs 2 stones together to create what he calls a good luck spark. He tells them that his name is Ryuden and asks for Izou's name, but he doesn't want to reply, so Sonia answers for him. The group tries to find shelter, but has difficulty doing so because they don't like orcs. Finally, they are able to find one. There, Ryuden tells Izou that he owes elves for only one elf girl before treated him well, in the land where he came from. He adds that he left that land because of the way the orcs are treated there, but when he gets here, it's just the same thing. Ryuden asks Izou how a skilled fighter like him ended up as a guard. The latter tells him it's because he failed to die. The orc invites him for a drink, and so they did. The following day, the 3 of them begin their journey towards Hakovate. Ryuden suggests that they take a path other than the main road so that it's less dangerous. They do so, but still, the invader leader and his men find them. Izou and the orc fight the leader's minions to protect the girl. Izou's right shoulder gets sliced, making him remember that past when his former superior named Koketsu slashes his right eye. The anger he feels causes him to kill those who are ambushing them. Ryuden, on the other hand, is almost killed, but his former boss saves him, telling him to give the girl to them if he wants to survive. Ryuden turns the offer down and continues to fight to defend the elf girl. The battle goes on until they reach a cliff with a roaring river down below. Someone shoots, and the group all fall from the cliff. Ryuden and Izou into the river with a strong current, and Sonia on a rock near the enemies. The orc and the man wake up inside a cave dwelling and realize that the elf girl is not with them. There, they are welcomed by an old centaur named Tsukayomi, who gives them back their weapons. After the centaur introduces himself, Ryuden mentions that he has heard of him, a hermit sage living at the foot of Mount Fuji. However, Tsukayomi would rather be called a fool than a sage. They ask him about Sonia, but he says he only found them. Izou gets annoyed and acts rashly, thinking that the centaur is lying, but Ryuden stops him. The age then leads them up a staircase full of books. Elsewhere, a man tells his guests about the Dark Lord, whom he considers the master of all things. He also explains how this Dark Lord is related to a magic wand, which ended the coup years back. Back in the centaur's dwelling, upon learning that the girl they are looking for is an elf, Tsukayomi tells them about magic wands that can change the fate of the world, depending on what kind of person the wielder is. He explains that the ones who can harness its power are called brights, and a lot of them are elves, making Ryuden realize that his former boss targets elves to find brights. Tsukayomi adds that there are 2 groups who are after the wands. One is called the Shield of Light and the other is called Inferni. One of those Inferni offers Okubo a deal that if they find them a wand, they will be given a chance to harness its power too. The man doesn't reply, but upon leaving, he tells his colleague how hard it was for him to read the Inferni member's emotions because he has little to begin with. That Inferni member goes to a room where he keeps Sonia and wakes her up, questioning her if she's the source of the strange light back in the brothel. Meanwhile, Tsukayomi points Ryuden and Izou towards Yokohama, where there's a gathering of elves. He also tells them that Sonia is still alive according to the stars, and so, encouraged by the thought that the elf girl is alive, they begin their journey towards that place. However, upon reaching Odawara to Kaido, after helping a boy who hurt himself, the locals suspect them as dangerous, thinking that they are related to the kidnappings in the area. When the kid's mom realizes they are not bad men, she tells the residents to back off and takes them to her home to feed them as an apology. She also explains the reason behind the locals' fear and shows them a news clipping about a dead elf girl found with her legs cut off. The following day, they arrive in Yokohama, where Izou encounters someone familiar who reminds him of his tragic past. Ryuden notices his strange behavior and tells him to rest while he goes on ahead. Izou goes up to a temple where he finds a woman who looks exactly like Chihaya. He apologizes after realizing he made a mistake, but the woman stops him, telling him he might be referring to her twin sister. Meanwhile, Ryuden, who is sniffing around to hopefully find Sonia, succeeds in finding her clothes on a salesman's cart. He finds out from the Goblin salesman that he got it from an estate in Yamanoe. He rushes to Izou without even paying for the clothes. At that time, the samurai is talking to Cheihaya's twin. He tells her how she lost her memory before, earning her moniker Cheihaya, the Forgetful. He also shows him the only thing she owns, a hair pin. The woman opens it and realizes it's her sister's wand. They then talk about the pillar of light seen before at the brothel. Ryuden finds the two at the temple, at first wondering if the woman is a ghost, seeing she looks like Cheihaya. After they explain to her that she's her twin, he tells them that the clothes from an estate in Yamanoa in a salesman's cart all belong to elves, including Sonia's clothing. Cheihaya's twin tells them they have the same enemy, the Inferni, and admits that she's a member of the Shield of Light. She joins them in going to the estate, and during their journey, she fills them in about the details of Cheihaya, being a wand wielder, and the story of how she probably lost her memory during a mission. In the estate in Yamanoe, the Inferni guy tricks Sonia into drinking a drugged beverage. A goblin reports to him that Izou and Ryuden are still alive, so he takes the unconscious girl into the carriage to take her away. The samurai sees the Inferni man, who turns out to be his former master Koketsu, inside the carriage, making him unable to make a move. Ryuden stops the vehicle and fights against Koketsu, but the latter defeats him easily. With Izou still in shock, Cheihaya's twin sister attacks the samurai's former boss, but like the orc, she too loses to the Inferni man, allowing him to escape with the elf girl still in his grasp. Members of the Shield of Light arrive shortly, calling Cheihaya's twin sister by her name, Anna. The group gets them a carriage that takes them to their base at the city port, where a boat will take Sonia to the Inferni homeland. The Shield of Light boat chases after Infernis in order to save Sonia. Izou and Ryuden manage to get on Koketsu's boat and deal with his men on board. However, Ryuden's old boss, Tomuko, who has an octopus hand now, attacks the orc who was once his subordinate. Izou slices one of Tomuko's tentacles, while Ryuden manages to cut his left arm. Unfortunately, the orc's right leg gets blown off when Izou left him to deal with the fight on his own, as the samurai looks for the girl. Ryuden kills Tomuko, but the latter's remaining active tentacle shoots Ryuden in the face, killing him. Izou, on the other hand, finds Sonia, but gets ambushed by Koketsu. The two fight, and the Inferni offers the samurai to join him once again, but having learned his lesson all too well, Izou refuses. His former master slays him in cold blood. Sonia rushes to Izou's side and finds Cheihaya's wand on him. She harnesses its power to revive and heal the samurai. Anna, who just got on the boat, sees this and realizes that Sonia is indeed a bright. Koketsu demands the elf girl to give him the wand, as if it is of any use if there's no wielder. The girl refuses and sees Anna, mistaking her for the high courtesan she knew. Sonia uses the power of the wand to kill Koketsu, finally ending his greedy Inferni lust for power. After a few days, Izou and Ryuden, who are both miraculously alive and well, are at the Shield of Light port to see Sonia off. Izou, who happens to have the wand, throws it into the ocean to prevent anyone from utilizing its power ever again, saying humans ought to take care of their problems in their own way. Ryuden agrees with him, for it's also how orcs deal with their own problems.